2.1. Using figure 6, which one of the following statements is true? So I've got a shade in one circle only. Figure 6 itself is a map of the world where you've got your hot deserts in orange, your tropical rainforests in dark green, and then your deciduous forests in the light green. So the correct answer is B. The largest single area of tropical rainforest is in South America. So this part here, that's the Amazon. That's the correct answer. 2.2. Outline one reason for the distribution of tropical rainforest. So basically, why are rainforests found on or very close to the equator? So probably the most common answer here is linking it to the climate. Rainforests all have high humidity, rainfall, or temperature all year round, which is great for growing vegetation and plants very, very quickly. Next question, 2.3. Which global ecosystem is most likely to have a temperature and precipitation or rainfall pattern shown in figure 7? You've got a climate graph. The bars is the amount of precipitation, which is rain or snow and things like that. And the line is the temperature. So looking at the temperature, and you've got to be careful here because there's different axes. Temperature's on the right-hand side. It looks like the temperature gets up at its peak to around about 7 degrees, but most of the year it's below 0, so sort of minus 20, minus 25. So we know it's going to be a cold area, and we know that it's going to either rain or snow a fair bit. So the answer as a result then would be the tundra environment. It's obviously going to be way too cold for any of the others. And then 2.4, what is the minimum temperature shown in figure 7? Again, temperature is the line, go down to the minimum, so it's that number there. So the answer is minus 30 degrees, which is C. And then 2.5, give one reason why polar regions, so the North and the South Pole, have low temperatures throughout the year. Now, this on the face of it is a really easy question, but your answer needs to be in enough detail to get the mark here. Because a lot of you will write because the polar areas are furthest away from the equator. And I'm afraid that doesn't get you the mark this time. So let's be a bit more specific. Let's think a bit about the curve of the world. Now, because it's at the equator, if you can imagine the sun going onto the equator, the sun's energy, or what's called its insolation or radiation, is going to concentrate over a very small area. At the poles, because of the tilt of the Earth, the sun's energy is going to be spread over a greater distance. So this would be something that you need to say. The spread or the concentration of the sun's energy is greater at the poles. Also, depending on the time of the year and the tilt of the Earth, some polar regions at the very top of the world actually doesn't receive any sunlight for up to 6 months of the year. So rather than just saying they're further away from the equator, talk about the spread of the sun's rays and the tilt of the Earth. 2.6, using figure 8 and your own understanding, explain how development in tropical rainforests creates economic advantages, so lots of money, but also a cost to nature or the environment. So just explaining here, we've got to use figure 8, you've got to reference something of them and your own understanding. Now you've got 2 photographs. The first one here, well, what does it show you? Well, this is called gullying. This is where, if you can imagine, a lot of trees have been cut down, maybe due to deforestation, and that then leaves the soil really exposed. Now, as it rains a lot in the rainforest, if you don't have the leaves to trap and intercept the water, it's going to go on the ground and it's going to very quickly wash away all the nutrients, all the litter, all the soil, and then you're left with these deep grooves. So it makes this land very, very difficult to farm on or develop on at all, because it's so uneven. Obviously, for an environmental point of view, you go down the route of loss of habitats, impact on food chains and food webs. There's plenty there. Also, the cutting down of the trees happens in the second picture, and this is a big mine. So obviously you can say, well, yeah, the mine provides loads of jobs, loads of money, loads of tax for the government, so they can improve roads and railways. You can also use this as a stimulus and say, well, it's not just a mine where you can get money, but from companies that do logging, they can sell the timber or the mahogany or the teak for furniture. What other ways are there? You can turn fields. You can turn rainforest into fields to either plant palm oil plants on, or to put cattle on, and then you can sell your products. Again, money, taxes, jobs, etc., etc. So you've got to use both of these photographs. Whenever there's a fig with more than one, don't just assume you use one. You've really got to use two, and definitely say, it creates lots of jobs. Try and give a few examples. Our case study is the Amazon rainforest, so you could give a few specific examples about what can be mined, rather than saying, oh, there is a mine. It just gives you a bit more detail. But also cost to the environment. Soil erosion is here. The cutting down the trees will also impact on the local habitats and wildlife as well. 2.7. Using figure 9 suggests how ecotourism can help in managing tropical rainforests sustainably. Now, this question says using the figure, so we will have to, but it doesn't say and your own understanding. So you've got to pick something that you can see in the picture. Looking at the mark scheme, it says no credit for links to ecotourism that cannot reasonably be inferred from the photograph. So what do we have then? Well, it looks like we've got how many? About 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different huts. So we can say there's 5 huts, which is a very small resort. That can get you the first point, therefore, which means that making little impact on the rainforest or the environment. But you could say the huts look like they are made from natural materials that could have been got from the local area, such as all the wood for the paths and the actual buildings. So that's really good, in terms of for an eco sense, because if the materials are bought in from locally, they're not having to be transported from a long distance away, other countries perhaps. So then that would help with a lack of pollution. Or you could say, well, you can see huts, excuse me, and you can see these huts. Therefore, people must be going on holiday and staying in them. And if they stay in these huts, then the money that they have used can then be invested in the local area to improve people's lives. What you can't say is things like people will be employed to take tourists on hikes, or people's food is collected locally, which will help the local area. Those statements are not wrong, but you can't see them from the picture. You've only got the huts, so you've got to link your answer into what you can see. So just be careful. 2.8. Explain how either international hardwood agreements or selective logging can encourage the sustainable management of tropical rainforests. So these agreements then, the first mark can be just to name one. So we've got the International Tropical Timber Agreement. And then your development point is just saying what that is. And that's basically a bit of a law where companies or countries say, we will only get wood from areas that are known as sustainable. So every tree that's cut down, a company might plant a tree, or from an area that we know is legal, to make sure we're not buying any illegally sourced wood. Or you've got the Forestry Stewardship Council, or the FSC, and they basically stick a label on the wood that's sold, a bit like fair trade for chocolate or bananas, whatever it is. So if you see that label, you'll know that it's come from a sustainable location, and so that explanation will get you the marks. Probably more common would be to talk about the selective logging. So this, logging is just another word for cutting down trees, deforestation. But rather than cutting all of them down, selective means that you only take the ones that are the most mature, the most fully grown. This allows the younger trees to develop. And that's good because if you cut down all the trees, rain can get onto the surface, it can wash away all the leaves and all the soil and all the nutrients there. So if you sort of leave the younger trees, they'll have the leaves and they should intercept the rain before it hits the ground. 2.9, choose one of the following environments, hot deserts or cold. Tick the box to show the environment we have chosen. So we would tick the cold one. And then using a case study, so we would use Alaska. To what extent have opportunities for economic activity been developed in your chosen environment? So basically it's saying, in Alaska, we know there's lots of opportunities, lots of good things. We've got to try and link it to money, which won't be too difficult. But to what extent have these been fully developed? Could they be doing more? So you've got to have a bit of evaluation here. To what extent? So to maybe to a great extent, or to some extent, or to no extent. This is what we need to be talking about. So, how can you earn money in Alaska? Well, there's huge amounts of money, millions of pounds every year in the fishing industry, mainly salmon. You've got your mining, you've got your tourism, you've got the oil as well. So you need to be including all your facts and figures about that. But then, to get into your level 3 answers, to what extent? What might be stopping people earning money? And it'll be things like solifluction. These are sort of mudslides that happen when at certain times of the year the temperature just increases enough and a lot of the ice and the snow starts to melt. Or you could have thermokarsts, which are massive, basically potholes in the ground full of all the melt water from all the ice, which again makes it really difficult to get from one place to another, particularly in remote areas of Alaska. So basically you need to be saying, well, yeah, there are loads of opportunities, loads of jobs, loads of money, great, government can get tax and develop the country further. However, particularly with the extreme weather that they've got there, not all opportunities have been fully developed. And just on a final note, you've got things like hunting for whales. You've got the Whaling Commission that actually restrict how many whales that can be killed. So it might not just be the weather that stops your opportunities being fully developed. There might be some legislation or laws or rules that will also stop you from fully making all the money that you